sure. You haven't got a thingy? I have to give you a thingy. Oh, let me get out of your way.
First, let me say I was honored.
Have you been to the flower table yet? Because Pam Marshall wanted one. I'm going to give it to her.
About Cathedral Girls High School 25th graduating class of 1967. Of course I agree, but maybe Donna has forgotten that I was never very good at sharing just a few words. And yes, this habit greatly irritated our English teachers, Sister Maria Dolores, Sister St. Kevin, and Sister Mary Jean. After all, we're talking about highlighting the major events that impacted 103 young baby boomer girls from September 63 through June 67. The truth is, every one of us has our own story to tell. We all went through those years with different abilities, family situations, varied curriculums, and interests. But at the time, we had much in common. The clear majority were Roman Catholic. Most were grandchildren or children of immigrants. Our parents were part of the greatest generation, several of whom served in World War II and/or the Korean War. And many of us came from parochial grammar schools throughout the San Diego Diocese. We commuted to Cathedral via the public bus system, while 9 of us commuted daily from Tijuana. And some of us enrolled at Cathedral with a few of our grammar school friends. For me, those included Peggy Avalos, Nancy Teixeira, and Charlotte Winkler. Also, let's not forget that many of us came to Cathedral following our siblings or being followed by our siblings. Charlotte Winkler's sister, Irene, class of 65, Bertha Robles, Sister Lenore, class of 65, and Mary, 66. Kathy Callady's sister, Susan, class of 68. Kathy Globakar's sister, Patricia, I think class of 68. Susan Kisla's older sister, Sandy, class of 64. And then Michelle Walsh, her sister, Anne Marie, class of 64. And Josephine Martin Del Campo's sister, Concepcion, class of 68. And there were my sisters. Joanne, class of 62, and Agnes, class of 65. And I don't want to forget that our class not only contracted, but expanded over those 4 years with 10 transfers from Regina Chaley, 1 each from Sacred Heart, St. Mary's, Kearney, Montgomery, Marion, San Luis Rey, and Academy of Our Lady of Guam. So today it occurs to me we're all here to celebrate perhaps our own chapter of NBC's This Is Us. A friend recently asked me how I could possibly recall the 50-year-old events that impacted our high school years. So I thought to myself, who could forget November 22nd, 1963? We all attended Friday Mass and cried together as Monsignor Rice announced that our beloved President Kennedy had been assassinated. As an aside, in 1991, my family and I were honored to host his son, John Jr., at our country inn. Recalling the Second Vatican Council, 1962 through 65, I'd forgotten that Pope John XXIII died in the summer of 63. However, our own Bishop Buddy would often share with us what he gleaned at the Second Vatican Council with Pope Paul VI. And when Bishop Buddy passed away in March 1966, Bishop Francis J. Fury succeeded him as the second Bishop of San Diego on March 5th, 1966. 2 men who were part of our lives. And of course, there was Father Brockhouse. And Father Lechner. But never mind that I got in trouble for locking Father Lechner out of our classroom. We had two principals during our high school years, Sister Mary Teresa and Sister St. Bernard. And so many other faculty, some of whom I'm now convinced were only in their early 20s. Think Sister Eileen Leo and Sister Ann Rita. But they seemed mature enough to handle us. In '64, we were all struck by Beatlemania. As the Beatles made their first trip to the United States, I'm pretty sure more than one of our classmates styled their hair to resemble the Beatles' haircuts. I'm thinking about Pat Russell. In June 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed and went into effect on July 2nd. I would suggest that all of our lives have been affected for the good by this act and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. November '64, President Johnson was elected to a full term, and by February '65, the Vietnam War was heating up. The summers of '65 and '66, many of our class attended the Summer School of Catholic Action, sometimes called Christian Action, in San Francisco, learning from the Jesuits. In August '65, we witnessed the Watts riots. In 1966, we saw the Vietnam War continue and Medicare created for those over 65. At the time, I don't think any of us appreciated how much Medicare would mean to us today. Our senior year, we welcomed Cathedral's first foreign exchange student, Dorothy Draper. She lived with Michelle Walsh's family. In January '67, the first Super Bowl was held in Los Angeles. I don't really think any of us watched, but. Our 4 years were filled with classes, sports, drama, glee club, science fairs. Even I won in 2 categories without having to raise one animal. There were football games, dances, proms. We danced with our boyfriends, we danced with our fathers, and sometimes we danced with each other. We sold magazines to raise money for a new automobile for our sisters. And our senior year, I convinced the magazine committee to use some of the funds raised to provide an indoor, refrigerated drinking fountain for our students. We learned to drive. We even had ditch days. But our senior year that day went haywire, and some of you will have to fill in the details. When our years together began, our school yearbooks were called senior annuals because there were only formal photos of the senior class. Our sophomore year, I was honored to serve as a school photographer with Gail Huguenard and Michelle Walsh. We learned so much and giggled through most of our assignments. As a footnote, I was able in college to support myself by running the darkroom for a college newspaper. And I'm happy to say that by our senior year, the yearbook included photos of all the students. I'm sure this is because we pressured our editor, Kathy Hillesheim. Through it all, we were not supposed to use makeup, or dye or tease our hair, or wear sleeveless dresses. So much for rules. We graduated, some of us entered college. I was happy to venture off to the University of San Francisco with Margaret Avalos and Paulette Garand. And some pursued business careers. Many of us married, we raised children. So much to remember. Formative years, viewed through the lens of education, lifelong friendships, war, watching our president's funeral. This is us. Finally, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge our rector, Monsignor George M. Rice. Each of us most likely holds dear a favorite memory of Monsignor Rice. He served at Cathedral for 13 years. Born in 1909, he was 54 when our class arrived. He saw Cathedral through the merger with University High School in 1970, but he always had a vision and a mission that one day there would be a new Cathedral Catholic High School. Although he passed away on March 13, 1996, his dream came true in 2005 when Cathedral Catholic High School opened on this beautiful campus. In closing, yes, I am closing. I recall a line from a movie I saw recently, The Sense of an Ending. It goes like this. How often do we tell our own life story? How often do we adjust, embellish, make sly cuts? And the longer life goes on, the fewer are those around to challenge our account, to remind us that our life is not our life, merely the story we have told about our life, told to others, but mainly to ourselves. I want to thank you for being here today and for sharing your life with all of us. And at the same time, I want to remember those who could not join us because their life has passed. Gail Harkins, Monica Leonard, Janet Pontecorvo, Joyce Chastain, Jerry Warren. I would also give appreciation to those who worked tirelessly to make this reunion happen. Donna Gallagher Marchand, Barbara Zalesi McClone, Lynn Myers Lavario, and the other committee members that serve all the time, Jerry Thompson, Roberta Valdesaro Stegnaro, Nadine Elevado, Loretta Johnson, Marlene Author, and Kathy Author. Thank you, and have a great time.